Hi there. I've been talking to myself, thought I was talking to you, for a little while now, and I don't know whether I'm getting through this time or not. Um, I've double checked everything, and so it should be working, and you should be able to see me and hear me. But if you can't or don't, say something. Well, that doesn't work, does it? Because if you can't hear me or see me, you won't know. Um, aha! Okay, I see you. I don't know what happened before. Happy Sunday, Jefferson. Good to have you here. Hi, Donna. Hi, Laura. Oh, okay, I'm happy now. I have no idea what just happened, but I went live at noon, which is now 9 minutes ago, and was happily talking away until I was informed that nobody could see or hear me. And I don't know why I didn't do anything differently this second time, but here we all are. So that's good. I'm happy. I'm happy. I hope you are. Good Sunday, Susan. Good Sunday. I love that. This is amazing to me. I was thinking about Good Sunday, exactly that, this morning, which led me to a thought about Good Friday and why it's called good. And so I have a note here to do some thinking on that. Um, but today is good because we're here, because we're live, um, because the second time worked like a charm, and we're connected. Um, Hi, Dana. Yep, there I am. I have absolutely no idea why it didn't work the first time. I didn't do anything differently the second time. Um, Betty, I like your bee. He's very cute. Thank you for sharing him with us. Oh, he's sweet. And he moves. His little wings are flapping, kind of like a hummingbird's wings. We have resident hummingbirds here, you know. They're one of my favorite things. I always feel like they're a sign that the day is going to just go wonderfully when the hummingbirds show up. They make me happy. It kind of works the opposite when the squirrels show up, but we'll get that handled at some point. Yes, Jefferson, it is wonderful that the universe and Facebook lets us reboot. When my technical person came upstairs and said nobody can hear or see you, um, I said, okay, give me a break. I'm going to close this one down and we'll start a fresh one. And that one worked. So, yay, here we are. And we're finally together. If not just a few minutes late, it's not the end of the world, is it? Is it? Things go wrong sometimes. You know, sometimes they don't go as planned. Often, I find when things don't go as planned, something even better comes of it. And and when that doesn't happen, then I get to deal with my disappointment and perhaps get to look at how it could be done even better the next time. Now, this whole Facebook thing is there's really no way to check it out ahead of time. In fact, a couple of times we've tried to do that, it just added to more confusion because it would work well while we were testing it and then not work when we actually went live. So sometimes you just don't have to know, you know? Sometimes you don't. Um, but I think a lot of it is how we react to it, isn't it? Do we let it get us down or do we just say, okay, let's start again? Let's pick up and move on and laugh a little at the screw up or whatever and move on and not let it ruin our day, our week, our month, our life. I know people, and I know you do too, that had one really bad thing happen. And I don't mean to denigrate the really bad thing that happened to them, but had one really bad thing happen, and it has defined their life in a negative way. Now, there are other people who've had really bad things happen and allowed those things to define their lives in a very positive way. They did something about it. MAD, Mothers Against Drunk Drivers, doing something positive. Um, so many mothers we've seen on TV recently, mothers of children who have been killed, and the mothers saying, "I can't let this create something bad. Their life has to be worthwhile, and something good must come of it, and I will be dedicated to making that good happen." Um, I think we have to make good out of it. We have to somehow turn things around when they go wrong and make it a starting point for something good. Um, yeah, I have those of you who are saying the audio is much better. Yes, I'm right on top of the mic now. This is the second mic, and it still has its problems, but um, but it's better, and we're going to keep trying. So, Jennifer's out grocery shopping. Oh, there's a process. Um, Interesting, isn't it? Isn't it? How we have adjusted to this new world, to this new way of being. Some people have just said, okay, okay, I'll put my mask on. I'll keep a safe distance from other people because that's good for me and it's good for them and it's good for the world. And then other people are going kicking and screaming into this new normal, um, and causing some problems, I think, because of it. But that must be part of the process, too. I don't understand it, but then there's a lot of things I don't understand. A lot of things that send me doing research because I don't understand and I want to understand. I think we all want to understand. Want to understand other people's point of view. We want to understand what's going on in the world. We want to understand how things happen that don't make sense to us. And sometimes we get our answers and sometimes we don't. But it's good to try to figure it out, isn't it? Isn't it? So here we are. And I think I'm going to start talking about what I was going to talk about. And we'll just see where that takes us, shall we? Okay, hang on. I don't always have fabulous ideas right off the top of my head about what to talk about. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I'll shuttle a whole talk that I'm working on because another idea occurs to me. And I think, yes, that's it. That's what I really want to talk about. But for those days when those flashes of enlightenment don't happen, I save ideas for talks. I have a special file that says talk ideas that has quotes and notes and references and pages of stuff that I find that I think are interesting and might someday work themselves into a talk. And that's kind of where I was yesterday. So I went to my file and went through it all for some inspiration. And in it, I found a page from the Daily Word from November 21st, 2019. And it began. Serendipity is a happy chance, a stroke of luck. It shows up as a small joy or delight that brightens my day. I don't want to miss any serendipitous events, so I'm careful to look for them everywhere I go. How fortunate that I happened to be outside one night at the very moment a shooting star streaked across the sky. What are the odds I could find the exact item I wanted as soon as I walked into the store and then find it on sale at the same time? Oh, we love those. Each time I notice serendipity, I celebrate inwardly. My life is blessed. My gratitude is abundant. My awareness of God is full. I see each of these moments as evidence of my eternal connection with the infinite. I accept each one as a gift to nourish my soul. And their inspiration for writing that was Psalm 37. Take delight in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. Serendipity, I thought. I haven't talked about serendipity, at least not in recent memory. All of which, of course, sent me to the dictionary, which it often does, for a proper definition of serendipity, besides being a restaurant in New York that serves an off-the-charts item called frozen hot chocolate. But that's probably another talk. Anyway, Merriam-Webster says that serendipity, in addition to being a noun, is the faculty or phenomenon of finding good, valuable, or agreeable things, not intentionally sought for. Also, Merriam-Webster says, an instance of this. In other words, if you find good things without looking for them on purpose, serendipity, unexpected good luck, has brought them to you. I always like knowing where words come from. But serendipity, surprisingly, does not come from one of the ancient languages, from Latin or Greek, but rather was created in the mid-1700s by a British nobleman, Horace Walpole, who based it on a Persian fairy tale, The Three Princes of Serendip. The meaning of the word, good luck in finding valuable things unintentionally, refers to the fairy tale characters who were always making wonderful discoveries through chance. It's serendipity if you discover a $20 bill in the pocket of a jacket you haven't worn in over a year. We've all had that happen. Or find a pencil at an empty desk just as you walk into an exam and realize that you forgot to bring yours. It's serendipity if you meet your next husband or wife on the later train you had to take because you missed the one you were always on. And of course, being who I am, I always want to know what the opposite, the antonym of a word is that I'm researching. So I looked and discovered that the opposite of serendipity is, are you ready? I had never seen the word before. Zemblanity. Zemblanity. A word that was created specifically as an antonym to serendipity because there didn't seem to be a word that was an antonym to serendipity. Whereas serendipity refers to the land of Serendip, which was green and lush and wonderful and beautiful, Zembla refers to another locale, a dry, arid place. So, Zemblanity, which is defined as the faculty of making, ready, unhappy, unlucky, and expected discoveries by design. Let me read that back to you again. I had to read it several times. The faculty of making unhappy, unlucky, and expected discoveries by design. Why do we even need this word? Why in the world would anyone purposely do that? Which, of course, got me to thinking more. And the eye-opening realization, at least for me, that we do it, albeit somewhat unconsciously, all the time. For example, I know about the power of the mind to create stuff, things, our lives. I talk about it. I teach about it. I've experienced it multiple times. And yet, I find, on rare occasions, of course, that I have been thinking unhappy, unlucky, unfortunate, and unproductive thoughts. And then I am surprised to discover that the thoughts have taken form and manifested in my life. So now I know that zemblanity has occurred. Remember this word, it's important. And I figured, much like a mystery disease or a strange symptoms that the doctor can do nothing about until it is identified or given a name, now that I have a name for it, maybe I can more easily find a cure. And while zemblanity is something we don't want a lot in our lives, and while serendipity is the antonym for zemblanity, and decidedly a most pleasant occurrence, I don't think serendipity is the cure for it. So I put my dictionary down and picked up one of my several copies of Science of Mind. No, Ernest Holmes did not use the word zemblanity or even serendipity that I could find. But he did say this: the background of human thought is, to a great extent, one of negation, a denial of a harmonious and spiritual universe. Consequently, our outlook on life must be transformed by the renewing of our mind. And even when the results are not immediately forthcoming, we must still maintain a calm serenity of thought. So perhaps the remedy for zemblanity, for thinking in ways that create unhappy, unlucky, and should be expected because of what we know, discoveries by conscious or unconscious design, is a willingness to look at life, specifically one's own life, in a new way. I find that one of the best ways to renew or revise our thinking, and therefore our minds, is by remembering that we are, here's a word out of the past for those of you that attended Spirit Works, godlings. First and foremost, children of creation itself. Divine beings busy discovering who we are and what that means. Learning to walk and talk and create our lives from the DNA of the infinite. Discovering that we are, in fact, spiritual beings, having a very human experience. And learning to use the tools at our disposal to create heaven or hell on earth. Try to picture that. Picture yourself as a shimmering, but perhaps not yet fully actualized godling. A divine being learning how to practice spiritual magic in a material universe. Isn't that a fun thought? Isn't that a great picture? In that same paragraph in Science of Mind, Holmes says, we must relight the torch of our imagination by fire caught from heaven. What better picture might we use? What better idea to relight the torch of our imagination than by picturing ourselves as baby gods, godlings. We all already have all the memories we need. We have all been babies, haven't we? If any one of you has ever not been a baby, I'd like to talk to you about that. And having been babies, we have all had to learn to walk, and not without a fair amount of practice. First, we were stuck flat on our backs. If that's where somebody put us, that's where we stayed. And then something in us said, turn over, turn over. And we did. And then after we had mastered that turning over business, it said, crawl. And we did. And then once we had that crawling thing down, something said, go for it. And we stood up and fell down and laughed at our own awkwardness. But we got back up again and fell down again and laughed and got up and fell down and laughed until we didn't fall down anymore. And it wasn't really very pretty or graceful, that first getting up and falling down, that first walking. But we kept it up. And then one day the voice said, run or jump or dance. And we did. And it probably wasn't very pretty or graceful at first, but we kept it up. And today we can do all of that and talk and chew gum at the same time. And it looks pretty good and maybe even graceful now, except for those of us who keep telling ourselves that we aren't good at those things, and so we aren't. But we might be if we'd stop telling ourselves that we weren't. The men who have walked on the moon had to take those first awkward baby steps, just like you did. The women who marched for equal rights had to take those first awkward baby steps, just as you did. Ballet phenomenons, Misty Copeland, Mikhail Baryshnikov, same first steps. And look where those steps took them. And if that's not enough, if you need more examples, talking is very much the same story, isn't it? Gurgles became our first words. And words became sentences, and sentences became paragraphs, and paragraphs became speeches or books or sermons or songs or love letters. Any number of wonderful, mind-blowing demonstrations of the divine power within us to create marvelous things, seemingly out of nothing, just as Spirit does. And at first it may feel awkward, silly. But then something in us will say, go for it. And we will. And we may well fall down because it's new to us, and we don't know exactly how to do it yet. And I think it's important that we remember that the secret is to laugh at our own awkwardness and our failings, but always, always to get back up and try again. And if we fall down again, to keep laughing and getting up until we don't fall down anymore. And it might not be really very pretty or graceful, that first falling down and getting up. But we must keep it up until we get it. And then one day the voice will say, run or jump or dance, and we will. Or it'll say, speak or think or write songs or something wonderful and creative that we've not done before. And we will. And it may not be very pretty or graceful or perfect at first, but if we keep it up, it may end up looking pretty good. And it may even be graceful or successful or abundant or healed or a whole world of wonderful things that come to us when we try. Except for those of us who keep telling ourselves that we're not good at those things. And so we aren't. But we might be if we'd stop telling ourselves that we aren't. See, that's the other half of the lesson. If we are intentional, if we come to know we are who we are, if we practice the presence that is within us, if we exercise it at every opportunity, we won't need to tell ourselves or anyone else that we can't or aren't, because we'll be doing it. Oh, let's do it. Let us be inspired by the world around us and the potential of the world within us. And perhaps even more importantly and more personally, let us be inspired by the miraculous, seemingly serendipitous things that we have already created and experienced in the past. Look at your life. As a baby who could do nothing except breathe, which is factory installed, look at what you have become. Let us recognize that serendipity is not happenstance, but simply one of the many ways that Spirit shows itself in our lives. Let us relight the torch of our imagination by the remembrance of the many, many seemingly serendipitous things that have delighted and amazed us in our lives before now. The shooting star, the thing we wanted on sale, the fact that we can now walk and talk and dance. And let us allow the memories of how that happened, that serendipitous fire caught from heaven, let it ignite our imaginations and fire up our minds and allow the unlimited creative genius of creation itself to demonstrate its seemingly magical presence as us and through us in each of our lives, every glorious moment of every amazing day for every day of our lives. Well, that's my thought for the day. It felt somewhat serendipitous to open that file and find the notes. A page that I took out of a magazine last November that was just where I needed it to be in the moment that I needed it. May those things happen to you all day, all week, every day of your life. But recognize that it's not just a happenstance. It's God. It's Spirit working in your life to create of your life something miraculous so that you know who you are and what you can do. And then once you know that, once you know who you are and what you can do, recognize that you have all the tools that you need to create the life of your dreams. Just use them. Use them. And if it looks a little awkward at first, well, so be it. We laugh with the baby, not at it. And the baby is laughing because it recognizes that it's going to get this thing. So, my godlings, what are you going to do this week that you've never done before? What is going to inspire you, ignite the fire within you to do something marvelous that you've never done before? What fun, amazing, creative, world-changing, life-changing thing are you going to do? You're right, Susan. It's not about the falling down. It's never about the falling down. Falling down tells you you didn't have your balance right, right? That's all that's about. So you get up again. And maybe you wobble a little. In my yoga class, the teacher often says, try this. And if you're wobbling, that's perfectly normal. That's what you'll do until you get the balance right. And then you may or may not wobble the next time. But there's nothing wrong with it. And there's nothing wrong with falling down. She also makes that okay for us. If you're trying something strange and you fall over, laugh and get back up and try it again. It's the getting back up. Yeah. There's serendipity. Yes, Kirk, I love that. I love that. Jennifer and Kirk met at a party that Kirk wasn't expected to go to, but he did. And Jennifer says she almost decided not to go too. Life is good, folks. Keep your eyes and your heart and your mind open to those occasions when Spirit nudges you and says, go to the party, Kirk. Go to the party. And Spirit on the other side of town is saying to Jennifer, go to the party. Come on. Something's going to happen. Go. Don't just sit here. Get moving. Kirk says he has a circular file that he puts ideas in and then empties the circular file and loses the data. Yeah, happens sometimes. Happens. I know I more than once have said, I had the best idea. I wish I could remember what it was. Or I saw that somewhere, but I don't remember exactly where I saw it. We can't keep them all. But keep the good ones. Keep the good ones. I love my file. I actually have two. I have a paper file. I'm looking around for it, but I must have actually put it away. Good for me. I have a paper file that I put paper things in, and then, of course, I have an online file that also says ideas. And if I run across something wonderful, I copy it and throw it in that file. And I don't know when I'm going to use it. I may use it almost immediately, and I may not. But it's there. See, it's there, and that's like finding the $20 bill in the jacket that you haven't worn for 2 years, isn't it? Isn't that fun? I love to do that. Or, ladies, the purse you haven't used since last summer, and you take it out and go through it, and there's money in it. Happens. Happens. All the time. Trust that. Trust that. That's God at work in your life, nudging you, saying, come on, let's have some fun. Let's do something different. And yeah, you might have to practice. That's something different. But you're a godling. You can do this. You can do this. Whatever it is you really want to do, so that baby really wants to crawl, really wants to walk. So they keep getting up and doing it again. So we get older, we've got a backlog now of things that we can do. So everything isn't quite as exciting as it is to the baby who up until that moment couldn't do much of anything except gurgle. What might we do? Jesus said, these things that I do and greater things you will do. He said that. He was a pretty smart guy. We have yet, for the most part, to replicate what he did. So we are not quite ready for the and greater things. Or are we? Are we? What might you do if you didn't know you couldn't? That's kind of a paraphrase of Satchel Paige. Thanks, Satchel. What might you do if you didn't think you couldn't? What might you do? What might you create in your life? What thing might you change? What miracle might you wrought? There's a good word. What might you love deeper, create better, sing louder, dance faster? What might you do if you didn't think you couldn't? And what if you could? See, I know that in my life, those things that I don't do, I either don't do out of fear, like jumping out of perfectly good airplanes. I don't see the point in it. Or I don't do because I have told myself that I can't. Now, some of those things aren't terribly important. I've never ridden a bike. And I'm really not good at skating. Ice skating, roller skating, any of those skating things. Why? Because they all have to do with balance. And somewhere along the line, this Libra, who is supposed to be all about balance, tells herself she's not very good at it. So I don't do those things. But then I'm not sure they make a huge difference in my life. But how many other things are we telling ourselves we can't do that do make a difference? That really do impact who we are and what we do and what we can yet do. This I know. If you're still here, and if you can hear me, you're still here. If you're still here, God's not done with you yet. So there's stuff for you to do. What is it? If you listen, you'll know. And then why not? Why not? Because I don't do that. Why don't you? Do you want to? God seems to want you to. What do you think? Let's pray on it. Let's pray on it, shall we? Let's do that. So, you know the drill. Close your eyes if that's comfortable for you. If not, just soft focus. Allow yourself to turn your attention inward to that holy of holies within you, to the sanctuary within your mind and your heart, to that sacred space. And there you just might meet a godling, a divine being learning to take the tools that it already has to make this world a better place. Why else would we be here but to make this world a better place? So let us take a moment now and find within us that divine fire. And let us breathe holy breath upon the embers and ignite it. To allow ourselves to be consumed in the fire of creation. And allow that fire to burn away any of our I can'ts or I don'ts or I don't know how or any of our excuses. So that what emerges is a divine being becoming a divine human being. Let us challenge ourselves to go beyond our assumed limitations and to use what we know in our hearts we possess to become more, to become truly the presence of creation on earth. Godlings. Spiritual beings having a very divine human experience. I know for each of us that we are fired up, that we are ready to take on new challenges, new opportunities to express our divinity and our creative power. I know for each of us that as we step forward, something within us lifts us up and empowers us to do what we dream of doing. Something within us removes our limitations and our little thoughts and allows us to be who we truly are here to be. And we are inspired. We breathe in the presence of God and we breathe out creation. Truly, we recognize and demonstrate this week the power within us to replicate creation itself. And so we do. And I am truly grateful for that presence, that power that permeates the universe and moves in and through and as each of us. And for the miracles that it creates. for the seemingly serendipitous events that happen in and through each of our lives this week, for all of that, for the good, for the God. I am truly grateful. And let it be so. And so it is. Well, there's a good way to start the day. It is always good to be with you. Good Sunday. Yes. Yes. It is always good, I think, when the spiritual family gathers. And great things will come of it. I know that this week the world is going to be blessed by your presence. I know that you are going to change things in a very good way. And I am grateful for that and for you and for this amazing opportunity that we all have to really prove the presence of God. It is a good Sunday indeed. It is always good when we are together. And I am grateful. I am so thankful for that. Well, you have work to do, so I won't keep you any longer. Go out and about in the world today and make it a better place because you're in it. I hope to see you all on Wednesday. I have some thoughts about Wednesday. And then again next Sunday. I love you. Go be who you are. Create something wonderful. Bless the world.